Yo, I'm gonna ramble about this one a bit because there's a lot going on. Here you can see me do a test with movement and cast speed. I have two rings, one with 15% attack and cast speed and movement speed, and one with just a 15% attack and cast speed. There is other stats, but they are not relevant. As you can see, just the attack and cast speed has no effect at all, but when I equip the movement speed, you can see the projectiles shoot out much quicker. This means this Spectre scales purely off of movement speed, which is a unique mechanic I have not seen before. They also don't work with either multi-strike or spell echo. The Moondancers have 4 base projectiles. Additional projectiles will add to each of the 4 base projectiles. So for example, with Volley, they have a total of 12 projectiles. Return becomes an interesting mechanic, but the projectiles don't travel too far back, so hitting a target multiple times is a bit complicated. Greater multiple projectiles might actually be better than Greater Volley in this case. Here, I am supporting the Spectre with Brutality to make it deal no damage. When we support the Moondancer with Volley, there is 2 additional projectiles flying out from the bottom left base projectile, but only 1 additional from the top left projectile. This means that the top left base projectile and 1 additional projectile are both hitting the monster. This confirms that they actually have a shotgun effect, and this is not AoE overlap from mortars, but actual shotgunning. Here is a quick test with area of effect. As you can see, there is no benefit, which makes sense as the skill they have has no area tag. So what does all of this mean? Well, they actually shotgun, which just means that all projectiles are able to hit the same target if they actually do. But do they have some area of effect overlap as well? Well, if you remember the old days of Syndicate operatives, which also used the shotgun, they have a similar impact effect when their projectile hits a wall. The difference is that Syndicate operatives had projectiles that fly out normally, whereas the Moondancers have ground targeted projectiles, making this impact effect more relevant on Moondancers, as the impact seems to be larger than the actual projectile. This might mean they do have a bit of overlap potential in addition to the shotgun. This is quite hard to verify exactly, however. They also skill exclusively with movement speed and not with attack or cast speed. So should we be using return? Well, it kinda depends. If the target is big and you put your Moondancer up close, a lot of projectiles will probably be able to hit the target, especially with greater multiple projectiles in combination with return. Pierce might be a good addition to this setup, as the projectiles that have already hit the target can hit the target again. Sadly, this also creates some negative synergy. Putting them up close means they won't be moving, so the rate of projectiles going out will be lower, dependent on how much movement speed they have. So, I don't know. Which setup feels best for you? Something more oriented towards their movement speed, or just putting them close to a big target with greater multiple projectiles and return? Or maybe running greater volley, return and pierce? In terms of DPS, I think they are quite powerful early and mid game, but feel they will lack scaling options as we go towards endgame. For example, we normally get 12 passive minion clusters with attack and cast speed, but those don't apply to the Moondancer, so they are not as good. The shotgunning is powerful, however, and cold skills very well on minions, so we could see some high damage numbers on big bosses later on. In terms of tankiness, they are insane. They have about 80% the health pool of a Primal Crusclaw, and gain an additional innate 250% of their life as extra energy shield, which is an insane amount. They have 75% cold resistance and 0 of the others. They also have a cold chill aura, which they don't seem to use. And another aura that grounds 35% of maximum life as extra ES, some energy shield regen and energy shield recharge. Allies do not gain any benefit of this aura, which means they might not use it at all or on themselves. The last thing that I have not talked about yet is that they absolutely destroy your FPS. My PC was burning when I was running 3 of these, so I don't really want to imagine what they feel like when running 8 or 9. Nope.